Welcome, and thank you for joining me today as we continue to explore the path of the seeker. Today I'm going to be pulling a oracle card for 2019. This is an experimental video with a new camera, a new microphone, and a new perspective. And to represent the 4 elements today, we have dragon's blood incense to represent air, which is the intellect. The dragon typically represents fears, which is a big result of the intellect overworking, so it's an appropriate choice for incense. We have a clear quartz cluster that to me is vaguely in the shape of a heart, and that's for clear seeing on the collective level. We have a raw calcite, which also represents seeing clearly, an Apache's tear, which represents finding the silver lining even in our darkest nights of the soul, and an amethyst quartz cluster also in the shape of a heart, which represents the third eye chakra most of the time, and psychic, or the extra senses, clear seeing. And then we have our angel wing candle holder, one of my personal favorites, of course. But I also wanted to include it because it's very important that we ask for help this year from our guides, our angels, and our relatives that we trust that have crossed over to help us as we continue to walk the path of the seeker. And fire represents passion. So I'm passionate about asking for help these days. It's a major life lesson on my path. And earth, of course, represents our part of creation that we are working in. And then we have for water our 3 sages clearing spray. I've already sprayed that, but I'll go ahead and give you a listen. And so there are the 4 elements that I've invoked in our sacred space for our little oracle card reading today. Next, I wanted to cover a trend, a series of synchronicities that are occurring in my life and seem to at least indicate what the theme for me will be next year, the major lesson that I'll be learning. And this is the box that I keep my major arcana tarot cards in. I don't use them for telling the future. I don't use any of my oracle cards actually for telling the future. It's more for working with the energy as it exists, because I believe there's different energetic states, and symbols can represent those energetic states, which allows you to understand the lesson or the period of time that you're currently in. So I want to share with you a series of synchronicities that have kind of indicated what lesson I'm going to be learning next year. And so I've put the final card on the path of the seeker at the top of my little box here. I have here a quartz stone that says courage. It's not the same one as before. A little bit more of a green element to this one, which represents the heart. And I like to keep this in here to kind of keep the box charged with a loving, courageous energy. And the world card is dancing. And we're going to go into the symbolism when I share the video on the specific path of the seeker. And the reason why this one has no colors, because I do mean to color it in. The reason why I made copies and I'm going to color the cards myself is so that I learn the symbolic meaning of the colors. And there's a lot going on in this image, a lot of symbolism. But primarily, the world key represents a dancer, someone dancing with life. And one spiral, the path is a spiral that we are walking as a spiral. So one spiral is involution, and one spiral that she's holding is evolution out of the experience. the white block here exists because she's actually got a bare chest and I don't like nudity. So we will be covering this card very soon. But what's really interesting is, as I was trying to decide what path of 7 to cover next, it became very obvious what the next series shall be. And it was interesting to me because I realized that both of the books that I'm going to use have a theme as well, and that they coincide with the World Key and the dancer on the World Key card, tarot card. And so the next series of 7 we're going to cover is the 7 directions of the Native American medicine wheel. And the 2 books we're going to use is called Dancing the Dream by Jamie Sams, The 7 Sacred Paths of Human Transformation. And she has medicine cards, which I actually own. So that's the first book that we will be covering in our next series of 7. And as you can see the 4 elements. She has water, earth, fire, and air represented here. And the other book that we're going to use is Dancing with the Wheel, the Medicine Wheel Workbook, which is a Sun Bear book. And it's by Sun Bear, Woven Wind, and Chrysalis Mulligan. And so, if you're like me, you might see a theme here. We have the World Dancer of the Tarot Card Key. And both of the books on the 7 directions of the medicine wheel are about dancing. Now, what dancing is, you have to learn the dance of life, or how to dance with life. There's a country music song that's called Life is a Dance, which I'll put a connection to the music video in the description box below. But it is a dance, to learn to dance with joy, with the life that we live. And I think this is going to be my path. There's a lot for me to learn, to dance with it and have fun with it and not get so stuck. You know, we tend to walk about in the chains of oppression, like in the Devil card key. In the Devil card key, we see the chains and how they go to the base of the Devil's card, but we can always take the chains off. So the chains are off in my life, and now I'm learning how to dance with life instead of feeling oppressed by life or burdened with life. And again, that takes courage, because you can't have fear in order to dance. I don't know if you've ever gone out on the dance floor somewhere, but the one thing you can't do is be fearful and dance. You look a little bit weird if you try to do that. I think that's one of the reasons why white men can't dance, is they're usually too afraid. And they don't lose they're so intellectual, they don't lose their fear enough to where they can actually experience the rhythm of life. And that's what dancing is all about, is the rhythm. And I've always had a special knack for developing a sense of the rhythm of life, and the rhythm of business, the rhythm of the flow of customers and customer service jobs. So this year is really going to be about getting a rhythm, because it's a very different year for me in a lot of ways. So that is one of the synchronicities and themes that's going on in my life. And this is one of the ways that you can actually experience synchronicities, you know. So let me move on to our next segment, where I'll actually pull the Oracle card for 2019. All right, now the part that everybody's been waiting for, where we actually pull the card for 2019. I'm using the Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud, the text by Jessica Macbeth, working with the fairies to find insight, wisdom, and joy. This Oracle card set came to me by chance back in the 90s. I'll double check the actual copyright date. My mom bought it for me at Sam's Club, of all places. I love fairies, And she simply bought it because she thought it was a book on fairies. She didn't realize that it was an oracle card set. And they say that the oracle card sets that work the best for you are those that come to you as a gift. And strangely, I ended up with one. The meditation technique in the book for this oracle card set blew my mind when I did it the first time. I'm just a natural meditator. Guided meditations just come naturally to me. And so in the 90s, you didn't encounter them as easily as you do now, since now we have YouTube and there's so many of them. So this little box set comes with quite a significant sized book, as you can see. Let's see what date. This was copyrighted, which means it came out. So it came out in 2000, which is right when I graduated from high school. So it was about the time that I graduated from high school that I came across the Fairies Oracle. So I've been working with this one for about 18 years. And it's the one that feels the most natural to me. I have bought other Oracle card sets for myself, most notably the Revlon set by my favorite person, one of my favorite people who do oracles, which is Colette Baron Reed. And I did buy a set of angel cards by Doreen Virtue, even though I know she's no longer into oracle cards because she believes that it's telling the future, but it's one of those things where it's all about your intention. The tool doesn't matter so much as your intention. And it's just like crystals. You know, here we have joy, and we have the butterfly represents transformation. I prefer to keep this one with this oracle set. And of course it's pink rose quartz, and I've used this stone before. And, you know, it's not the crystal that has the magic. It's the person's intention and what you create as a result of it. And crystals are just a representative of that intention. It's a physical representative of that intention. So oracle cards and any type of card reading is, as Colette Baron Reed says, more of a prescription than a prediction. It's working with the energy and how to work with the energy of 2019. And in the case of this reading, it's for the collective of people, the collection of people that are here to have this reading and enjoying this reading. And so it describes the energy so we can know what we'll be working with. The problem with telling the future is that as soon as you know what the future might be, it automatically changes. If it's a future that you want, it's possible that the future you want will change to something that's undesirable. There's a lot of assumptions that people make when they think they know the future. But this future is never set in stone. It's always transient. It's always immutable. And we never really experience it because all we really have is the moment of now. So when I do oracle card readings, I'm more or less looking for advice and working with the energy of next year. So this is a card to represent what type of energy next year will bring to us. And based on that energy, we'll have a little bit of advice from our spiritual helpers who have the highest intention of everyone involved at their as their intention. And working from that perspective, calling upon the higher powers for a positive reading that will help people. And like I said, this is not a prediction. This is just telling you what the energy of next year could possibly be. Just by knowing the energy, we may change it and allow ourselves to transmute it. But it's fun. And it opens the dialogue with the subconscious, which I've been talking about all along. That's why we're learning the symbols. And working with oracle cards is a great way to develop an appreciation for those universal symbols, because you'll find those in all the oracle cards. Now, the interesting thing is I don't know how many oracle card sets existed before Brian Froud in 2000. I haven't really investigated it. But Brian set out to create a tarot card thing with his paintings of the goblins and fairies, or the fairy folk. It's working with these and working with the energies and basically getting advice from spirit. Not a prediction, just advice. So I think that's sufficient. I'm going to pull one card for the theme. All right. And we got Gawacha in reverse. And then I'm going to, so let me go ahead and read that one. I'm not really familiar with Gawacha. I do know it surprises, but in reverse it might be pleasant surprises. I think normally it's negative surprises, but we'll see. So Gawacha is sudden shock, unexpected events, rude awakenings. But the reversed one is stagnation rules. Ooh, so we might be stagnant next year. It may seem that the situation is forever stuck, mired down in a swamp of misery, boredom, or pain. Ooh, that really ties into the theme I was talking about with the dancer. So this is where it can be kind of a little fun when doing these sort of things. Because remember, I was saying for me, the theme that I've been noticing is the World Dancer key from the Major Arcana, that I've had the indication that I need to learn how to dance with life. And dancing with life really encourages you to have movement, rhythm, but you're moving with life. You're moving and you're not staying stagnant. And what this card is saying is for those who are staying stagnant, who are not moving, they're going to have surprises. Sounds like Gawacha is that lovely individual who causes the dark night of the soul. Now, in a lot of ways, you could say that this one, Gawacha, would be appropriate for my last year because I was stagnant and I had a big wake-up call from a lot of things, or what Jamie Sams calls pop quizzes. And, you know, I learned my lessons, came out fantastic, learned how to dance with it instead of try to repress it or fight it or be upset about it. And so that's why this year for me, the World card seems to be a theme, and learning to dance with the rhythm of life. So a little advice on how to maintain our rhythm and keep dancing instead of being stagnant and having those horrible dark nights of the soul or pop quizzes. Let's find out what the next card says for us. Oop, both of these wanted to come. Oh, and these are excellent. All right. So we have the Piper. Now he's in reverse, but what do you listen to dance? You have to have a musician. And so here we have our musician, and it's the Piper. We will see what the reverse meaning in the fairy oracles are, but the Piper to me is always a musician, the Pied Piper who has the kids, leads them out into wherever. So, interesting. And then the other one we have is the Dark Lady, and the Dark Lady to me represents the subconscious. And yes, in Brian Froud's fairy oracle, there's a lot of nudity as well. For those who are spiritually free, nudity is not a big deal. But like I said, we have the Dark Lady in reverse as well. These are the two cards that wanted to come forward. So for me, that represents the, I'm going to do this. I hope you don't mind the upside down nudity for the bit that it was there. But for me, this represents listening to the subconscious and working with the subconscious. So dancing with the subconscious instead of working against the subconscious, which is often represented by ocean, darkness, and the feminine. So let's see what the Piper says. Book went right to the Piper when I opened it. So the Piper says, when we have blocked out the melody of the Piper, we can be like someone mesmerized, lost in a dream, stagnating. This was about stagnation as well. So basically the piper represents blocking out the melody of the piper. So that's a very interesting one. And then we have the Dark Lady. And she reversed means when we block the Dark Lady, we may be frantically active, occupying ourselves with the outer world and ignoring the call of the world within. We may be resisting profound change and renewal. In order to keep our feelings repressed and hidden from ourselves, we may become aloof, cold, and inaccessible, holding back from others as a way of holding back from ourselves. So what we have here, we have Gawacha, who represents stagnation, and a warning that if we stagnate, we will have dark nights of the souls. We have the Pied Piper, which suggests that as a collective, people are not listening to their inner voice, their inner song. And we have the Dark Lady, who also suggests that stagnation is involved. A very, very fascinating reading. And all of these, the answer to these, which are all a form of bondage, all suggest a form of bondage. The answer is learning how to dance with the world, to be the world dancer, to move and flow and experience the rhythm of life, to choose the rhythm of life. To me, these cards represent someone who's sleeping. This is the average state of being that someone is in. They are usually surprised when things come out of the blue because they don't want change. But the world dancer works with a change. She's mutable. She accepts the change and she dances with it. She understands that there's a rhythm to life. There's an ebb and flow. The one constant thing in this world is that everything is temporary. The dancer knows this and anticipates the rhythm and dances with the rhythm of life, understanding that there is an ebb and flow. So I hope that this reading gives you some insight into next year. It sounds like we're going to have a challenging year again, but in a lot of ways I do believe that it is going to be a healing year for many of us. And we might have a whole new set of people who are going to awaken. And just remember to focus on joy and courage. And thank you, brave soul, for joining me on the path of the seeker.